What if an unattractive face is the very thing that saves you from the shallowest version of yourself, the one that's never been tested? We're taught that good looks are good fortune. Doors open faster. People trust you sooner. The world is kinder from the very first glance. But have you ever stopped to ask, what kind of luck is it, exactly, that never forces you to prove yourself? Before we go further, there's one question worth settling first. What does attractive or good-looking actually mean? Turns out, it's a harder question than it looks. Because throughout human history, there has never been a single standard of attractiveness that held up across all times and all places. In ancient Greece, beauty was measured by facial symmetry and bodily proportion, ideas rooted in Pythagoras's golden ratio. But in that same era, pale skin and a slightly fuller figure were considered ideal, not because of aesthetics, because they signaled wealth. If you didn't need to work under the sun, it showed. Then the Renaissance came, and the standard flipped entirely. A full, rounded physique became the highest symbol of beauty, a sign of wealth and abundance. A lean figure meant poverty, hard labor, nothing desirable about it. Shift geography, and it gets even more complex. In East Asia, Korea, Japan, China, lighter skin has long been tied to social class and refinement for both men and women. Meanwhile, across many African cultures, rich, dark skin has been celebrated as a sign of health and vitality. Two opposite standards, both considered ideal, just on different sides of the world. For men, the standard has been equally unstable. Ancient Sparta valued a warrior's build. Victorian England prized a pale, refined silhouette. The 1980s demanded broad shoulders and hypermasculinity. Today's internet pushes symmetrical features and looks maxing. Same gender, completely different ideals. Each era convinced it had found the truth. Cross-cultural research consistently shows, while facial symmetry appears to be the one near-universal preference, the broader perception of attractiveness is still deeply shaped by local environment and cultural experience. So, attractive isn't an objective fact. It's a social construct, one that shifts depending on where you were born and when you lived. And right now, millions of people feel like they're not enough, measured against one single standard pushed by algorithms. A standard that is, historically speaking, just one version among thousands. Here's where it gets interesting, and a little unsettling. The halo effect is the brain's tendency to judge someone's entire character based on a single standout trait. When that trait is an attractive face, the brain doesn't stop there. It assumes the rest. Smarter, more trustworthy, more honest. All from a face, no evidence required. And this effect doesn't just change how others treat you, it changes how you treat yourself. In 1972, psychologists Karen Dion, Ellen Bearscheid, and Elaine Walster conducted one of the first empirical studies on this. Participants were asked to evaluate someone's character, their personality, their likely success in life, based solely on a photograph, nothing else. The results were consistent. Attractive faces got linked to positive traits across the board. Warmer personalities, brighter futures. None of it earned. All of it assumed. Later research in organizational psychology pushed this further. Job candidates rated as more physically attractive scored higher in interviews, regardless of their actual competence. The effect runs quietly, beneath the awareness of the people doing the evaluating. That's exactly what makes it so difficult to fight, even for those who know it exists. But here's the part that rarely gets discussed. When the world keeps validating someone based on their face, that judgment rarely gets tested again. Validation arrives before proof ever does. And over time, that creates a pattern. A person who's never really had to demonstrate why they deserve to be trusted. They just were trusted. Epictetus understood something essential about this. A man who started life as a slave and became one of the most influential Stoic philosophers in history. I quote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." End quote. Your face is something you didn't choose. It sits completely outside your control. But what you do with the hand you've been dealt, whether you lean on it or build past it, that's yours entirely. And that's where the Stoic idea of control becomes razor sharp. Now, to be fair, not every attractive person becomes complacent. Not every average-looking person automatically builds a strong character. This isn't a law, it's a tendency, a statistical lean, not a guarantee. What's interesting about Epictetus isn't that he condemned physical appearance. What he stressed is this: appearance belongs to the category of the external, things we don't fully control, and therefore things we shouldn't be building our identity on. In the Enchiridion, Epictetus splits the world into two piles. What's up to us? Our thoughts, our judgments, our responses, our character. And what isn't? The body, reputation, status, including the face we inherited and never chose. The problem is, modern society has built its entire value system on top of the second pile. Validation comes from likes, from a right swipe, from 5-second impressions that have nothing to do with who someone actually is. For those who don't benefit from that system, something quietly happens. They get pushed out of the external game and into the internal one. They're forced to ask, if my face doesn't open the door, what am I going to build instead? That question, almost by accident, is the most Stoic question a person can ask. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly. I quote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." End quote. Contemporary research backs this pattern, though with nuance worth acknowledging. Studies on the physical appearance premium in the workplace show real, measurable advantages early on. Job interviews, first promotions, first impressions in negotiations. The advantage is real, and it's documented. But long-term research on life satisfaction and relationship stability tells a more complicated story. Physical attractiveness has a weak correlation with long-term happiness. Meanwhile, competence that's been built through effort, what researchers call earned competence, correlates far more strongly with stable self-confidence and lasting fulfillment. This doesn't mean attractive people are destined to fall apart. That would be a shallow reading. The more honest point is this: when your foundation is something external, whatever that thing is, it cracks the moment that thing changes. And everything physical changes, including a face. So what do we actually do with this? This isn't a call to dismiss appearance, and it's not a romanticizing of struggle either. But there are a few things worth sitting with. First, ask yourself where your confidence actually comes from. Is it built on something that could disappear tomorrow? Looks, other people's approval, the way a room responds to you? Or is it built on something that stays even when everything else shifts? Second, the thing you feel is a lack, your face, your background, your starting point, might not be an obstacle to character. It might be the raw material for building it. Not automatically, but as a real possibility if you choose to use it that way. Third, maybe the more honest question isn't, am I attractive enough? It's this: what am I building that nothing, not time, not age, not anyone's opinion, can take away? None of this is universal, and it's worth being clear about that. Not all hardship produces wisdom. A lot of it just produces wounds. Not every attractive person loses depth of character. Some use what they've been given to build something genuinely great. This is a pattern, not a law. Now, what about the people who choose plastic surgery, who decide to change their face to get closer to whatever the current standard of attractive looks like? There's no clean answer here, and there shouldn't be. Your body is yours. That choice is valid. What's worth examining isn't the decision. It's the motivation behind it. Is it coming from a genuine desire to feel more comfortable in your own skin, something that belongs entirely to you? Or is it coming from fear, the fear that, without the change, you're not quite enough to be accepted? Because if it's the second one, the problem was never the face. It was always somewhere deeper, somewhere that no surgeon's hands can reach. Maybe true luck was never about what the world hands you at birth. Maybe true luck is being forced to search for something deeper than the surface. Because sooner or later, the surface stops being enough for anyone. The question comes back to you. What are you building today that will still be standing once everything external begins to change? Thank you for watching.